I think maybe at root there, and I want to go to this, is this issue of motivation for doing evangelism. What I think underlies that question is this sense of fear. I'm afraid, or maybe love for the lost, or disobedience to God. Missions happens because worship doesn't. There's a motivational element. Let's just talk and jump in as you want to. You hit on it in, I think, your first talk. Let's just go over motivations, maybe a triage of motivations for doing personal evangelism.
Well, I suggested simply obedience, love for the lost, and love for the Lord.
You really suggested more as you went on.
Right.
Especially the way you ended.
Yeah.
Namely that there is a lot of joy in heaven. Yeah. And if it's joy in heaven, we surely wouldn't be out of sync with the angels, would we? And so we should be happy. Mm. And if we're happy when people get saved, then we'd sure want to maximize that happiness. And there are a few things. I mean, I pray for myself, for my children, and my church that they would not miss out on the joy of leading someone to Christ. My guess is that most of the brothers in this room have probably not personally walked anybody into the kingdom in a long time. I haven't for some time. People get saved as I preach. They tell me about it months later. It's a little different. It's rewarding. It's gratifying. But to walk somebody like you've described, there is a sweetness to that personal arm-in-arm movement from darkness to light that very many pastors don't experience for long stretches of time. And it is sweet. It's just powerful. My daddy, who was an evangelist, when I asked him a question year before he died, what's the key to joy in the church? Unhesitatingly, soul winning. It's because he knew what had made him tick for 50 years and why he was the most amazingly happy man I've known. He was constantly experiencing saving grace flowing through his life into the life of others, and miracles were happening in other people's. So joy, you hit it at the end. And when we went home after your first talk, we kind of leaned over to each other and said, number 4. He's going to get to number 4, isn't he? Like joy.
I think the only one that, but I think it falls in, I think they're broad categories. So I think you can go subcategories now, but I think the 4 are covered. So we can start breaking it down into subcategories here and go, okay, I want to be the leader that God's called me to be for the church, to model for the church He asked me to lead, that we should do. But that now we're under obedience. Now we're under, so I think what we have left now that these kind of broad strokes have been painted is subcategories. I guess we can do that. But I think the things in my mind are filed under obedience. They're filed under joy. They're filed under these kind of larger headings, these larger fruits.
Okay.
I mean, on the desire to glorify God, I really do think that it's amazing that this is a way we can bring God glory now that we can't in heaven. So that does add a special sort of, zip in the step to make sure you're taking up these valuable opportunities when you're given them, because we won't have those eternally.
And we need to say love here. And where I get the most convicted is when I measure the emotional level of desire I have for my children to be saved compared to my neighbors. And I said, whoa, why is that? And for whatever reason, I'm so knit together. I'm just so one that the thought of them being lost is sometimes almost unbearable. And then I ask, why not for Bob and David next door? Why not? And so I pray that when I say I want to pursue my joy, it's really my joy in their joy. And the absence of longing for their joy is a deeply convicting thing. And I think all of us pastors should just be on our face that Jesus' teaching about the 99 and the 1, this is a very sobering parable. You got these 99 folks here, we're so happy about them, and there goes one off, one of those 1 Timothy 4:1 people who quit believing or were never believing, and they're gone. And how do we feel about that that sheep. And just measure that by the closest people you have that you really care about, and whether it's something similar, and then ask God to change my heart. That love piece is one I'm just always anxious to grow in.
Amen.